Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Tara. I am in a recovery program for drugs and alcohol. If you are new, please hang out. Get to know me a little bit. Let me get to know you. Comment down below. For those of you who do know me, welcome back and thanks for hanging out with me. Today I'm going to talk about something that's pretty uncomfortable. I don't talk about it very often, but I posted on my Facebook page last week and asked if any of my friends or family members had stories about my life that they felt I could tell to share hope with someone else. These videos are not to impress you. In fact, it's exactly the opposite. It's with the hopes that you will make better decisions, It's with the hopes that if you haven't made better decisions and you're in the same spot that I was, you'll realize that there's help out there and that you're not alone. I don't think about this time of my life very often. I spent 6 months about 9 years ago, on bath salts. Uppers were always my drug of choice. That was what I wanted. I never understood why people wanted to fall asleep. It didn't really make sense to me. So I was married previously to my first husband, and it was a really intense relationship because I am most certainly someone who needs a recovery program to be able to function like a normal adult in today's society. And I can't speak for him, but we were doing the same things. This is not to try to shame him. I'm not trying to tell his story. This is about me. And this is about what I went through and what I put myself and my kids and my family through. My ex and I were hanging out with a friend one evening, and he had bath salts, and it was in this like little container that looked like a lip chat pot. And it looked like another white substance. That was my favorite. And I hadn't done anything like that in years because I knew how much I loved it and how much I would give up for it. So we got messed up that night, and then we tried it fairly soon thereafter, maybe a week later or something like that. So my ex-husband and I started doing it a little bit more regularly. I got hooked. I couldn't stop. I started buying it behind his back from a tobacco shop, cigarettes shop. It got to the point where they wouldn't sell to me anymore. It got to the point where I wasn't sleeping. I wouldn't sleep for days at a time. There was a particular period of time where I don't think I did anything more than maybe twilight doze for almost a month. It was bad. I lost a lot of weight. I was getting bruises on my arms, on my legs. I'll post a picture so that you guys can see what I'm talking about. I try to keep this picture around just to remind myself of where I can go if I'm not really, really careful and I don't do the work to take care of myself. When I was using bath salts for this 6-month period of time, like I said, I was doing it behind my ex-husband's back, and I was hiding it from him. I would go downstairs to the basement and switch the laundry, and I had it like up on top of a HVAC vent, the cooling system down in the basement. And I remember I would go down there and I would have the washer dryer on, and I would grab it and do what I needed to do, and then I would put it back, and then I would go back upstairs. And there was a lot of laundry getting done, but not a lot of laundry getting done. I would be up in the middle of the night, and I would be walking around the house. I would sit on the porch. I would walk around the backyard. We had a big garden at the time, and I would go and sit on the porch swing. It was one of those freestanding swings that we had out in the backyard under a gazebo of sorts. And I would sit out there, and my mind would just run and run and run. It got to the point where I thought I was seeing people looking in our windows, which wasn't good because we had a roommate at the time also. There was a guy that was a friend of my ex-husband's, and he was staying with us. They were friends from high school, and this guy was staying in the basement. And there were times where I thought that he was, I don't know, like spying on me or something, because I had paranoia, from the drugs. And during this time, I can see how red I'm getting. I really don't talk about this in this much detail ever. I rarely talk about it at all. I would sit outside and I would pray that I could get off the bath salts. I would pray that I would be able to fix my marriage, that I could be a better mom to my kids. My children could have been taken away. They probably should have been at that point. And I'm not at all proud to say that. It's by the grace of God that I was able to retain custody of my children. I've always loved them madly, but I was not always the best mom that I could have been, and the best mom that they deserved. And so I work every day now to make sure that I'm doing what I need to do. They're a huge driving force for my recovery. That period of time was the beginning of the end of that marriage. I was afraid that he would see what was going on if I looked him in the eyes. And so I would try to avoid eye contact whenever I could. I was defensive, of course. I would shove him to try to get him out of my face. He didn't understand what was going on with me at all. And I couldn't tell him because I was so ashamed. Because number one, I was hiding this big secret. And number two, I was just ashamed of the fact that I was addicted to something called bath salts. Like, who even does that? What is that even about, really? It's not something that was being talked about a lot then. I was living in Ohio at the time, and my ex and I were doing stuff that we shouldn't have been doing, living a lifestyle that we shouldn't have been living. And like I said, I was paranoid about the bath salts that I was doing and staying up too much. And I was paranoid about like the rest of the lifestyle that we were living. And I was really afraid. I was afraid that my kids were going to get taken away. I was afraid that I was going to be arrested. I was afraid that he was going to be arrested. One day I just couldn't take it anymore. Guys, I had lost 3 jobs that summer. I couldn't hold a job. I'm hearing stuff. I'm seeing stuff. I'm doing drugs at work. It was a mess. Like, really. Like, I was a mess. So this one day, I picked up the kids from daycare, and when I came to pick them up, I heard the ladies in the office whispering, do you know where is she working right now? Do you know where she goes after she drops them off for the day? And the other lady said, no, I don't. And then I went to the grocery store with the kids, and I was so full of anxiety, and they were, I want to say around 3, and they were about 3 and 5 at the time. And we were at the grocery store, and of course they were little kids, you know, so they want to like touch everything that's on the shelves, and they're wanting to run around and play and stuff, which I was worried about because I didn't want them getting into stuff, and I didn't want them, you know, to get hurt, and it was too much all at once, and I just couldn't deal with it. And so I grabbed a few things that I needed. I bought healthy food like I always did, and we went through the checkout line, and there was a manager and a security guard standing there, and they were watching us as we were getting loaded up. And the manager said to the security guard, no, I think she's just stressed out. Later that evening, whenever the kids were in bed after dinner, and I sat him down and I confessed everything. I told him what had been going on, why I wasn't any good at cooking, and why I wasn't able to keep a job, and why I was being combative with him, and he was so mad, like so mad, you guys. And I can't blame him at all. It was completely justified. He didn't understand why I was lying, why I kept it from him. And I explained to him that I was ashamed of the level that I had gone to, the level that my disease brought me to. I was ashamed of being addicted to this stuff that nobody even really knew about, and just a lot of shame. I just had a lot of shame and a lot of guilt, and I was absolutely powerless. And I thought, you know, I just need to get off this stuff. And having the accountability of having him knowing what was going on made it easy for me to stop. I still craved it for a little while afterward, but it wasn't like it had been before. Not at all. If you guys have any questions about what that experience was like, let me know in the comments below, and I will respond to you as soon as I can. I wish that no one ever had to go through what I went through. And I wish I could take that back from my kids. I had to have that experience. That was something that I had to go through, but they didn't deserve that. And, you know, they've been to therapy and everything, and they're very well adjusted. They're awesome kids. They get good grades, and they're well behaved, and our life is completely different. And that's because I work a good program, and it's because I was given this opportunity. I was shown grace. And I want you to know that if you are struggling with addiction or alcoholism, you're not alone. You don't have to do it alone. There are so many people out there who love you and want to help you. Just let us be there for you. It's scary and confusing and hard and depressing and so many other things and I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. If you need help, I'm putting some numbers down below in the description. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more interesting stories about my life as a mess.